Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wind Down Wednesdays. I'm your host, Paula Taylor, and this is episode 46. I believe we are live. As you can see, my camera looks different from usual because the Facebook app on my phone is not working tonight. So I had to wing it. Interestingly, I was guided to come in and set up early tonight. And I've really been working on listening to my intuition and staying in flow. And so I heeded my intuition and I figured it out fairly early on and was able to kind of set this up. This only happened one other time, and that was, I think it was episode 4. It was the episode on grief. And I said my dad was messing with me, so I didn't take myself too seriously. So I feel like that is kind of that energy is in the room tonight because this meditation is intended to be really playful, but it could get serious. So I think this is a reminder to stay playful and stay in the flow. And I appreciate every week being here with you and being able to share this practice. And the fact that our technology works so much of the time, I think we take that for granted. It's been 46 episodes now, and it's only ever happened twice that I've had to kind of scramble at the last minute. The other thing that really helped me on my endometriosis journey was sound healing. And so I think it's not a coincidence that the topic for tonight is going to be sound. We're going to talk about expanding and clarifying our frequencies through the use of sound. And I want to refer just briefly to episode 31, which was called The Power of Sound. You can revisit that episode. You don't need to have watched that as a prerequisite to this one, but they're very closely connected. And so if you're interested, if you want to learn more about sound and sound healing, you might go back and watch episode 31. All right. So let's talk about expanding and clarifying our frequencies. This topic came to me spontaneously, as they often do, and then it got really dialed in. I was kind of thinking, oh, well, this is going to be like a repeat of this other episode I did, and why would I be talking about this twice? And then I realized that it's a different look. It's a more in-depth look at kind of the power of sound, and it's a little bit of a definition of terms. So I want to start by saying that our bodies, our physical bodies, our emotional bodies, our mental bodies, and our energetic or spiritual bodies are frequency. This is why we feel so strongly about music, why we connect so strongly with sound on a visceral level, because there's something about the vibration, the frequency of music that really calls to us, that really has the ability to allow us to feel, to allow us to get connected with our bodies. And this is also why we use words like vibration and frequency and resonate. I think you hear me say that pretty frequently, that I resonate with something or something didn't resonate with me. So that's a sound term. That's a musical term. That's a vibrational term. The idea of resonating, of vibrating, of waves. And I talked a lot about that in that episode 31. So I'm not going to go back into kind of the science of that. If you want to learn more about that, go ahead and watch episode 31, which you can get on my website, paulataylorenergy.com. You can find it here on Facebook, or you can find it anywhere you get your podcasts. So I've talked about this a bit in the past as well, and I want to just briefly bring this up tonight. I take issue with people who use the word, not people, I don't take issue with people. I take issue with the use of the word or the phrase raising your vibration. And I've talked about that before because I don't think it's precise. I don't think that it means what it says it means, because my view of this is that we don't just want high vibration. We don't just want high frequency. This earth vibrates at a low frequency. Our bodies, the root of our bodies, in order to get grounded, we need to vibrate at a low frequency. So I like the term expanded frequency. And I think when people are talking about raising vibrations or high vibrations, I'm going to explain how I like to put that terminology. But what I want to say about that is that we want to vibrate on as many frequencies as possible. Low frequencies, mid-range frequencies, high frequencies. We want to expand our vibratory field, our frequency, to encompass any frequency we can get our hands on. That is how we grow and expand. And the new healing method that came to me that I've talked about a little bit, that I'm still getting used to and I'm still integrating into my own being, is frequency based. And it's 4 different layers of frequency that weren't accessible to me till I was ready. And I was attuned to these frequencies, which literally means like the frequencies, my body got tuned into these frequencies. And eventually I will be attuning other people and teaching people how to work with these frequencies. But the thing about this, and the thing that I've noticed, especially today, there's a lot of energy from that full moon. There was that eclipse, and the way I heard an astrologer explain it was that we kind of went from a new moon to a full moon all in the space of a very short time. Normally that takes a whole month to happen. And so there's a lot of shadow work, and then there's this influx of energy from the full moon, and I've really been feeling that today. And as I called these frequencies in, as I accepted these new frequencies into my levels of being, I realized if I'm going to be able to hold these frequencies, I need to expand my energetic space, my physical energetic space, to hold these frequencies so that I don't get overwhelmed, so that my body stays in harmony. So in order to do that, we need the expansion. We need to expand our space, but we also need clarity. And I think when people talk about this high vibration versus low vibration, what they really mean by low vibration is not what I think of as a low frequency, which is a low pitch, a low frequency versus a high frequency. And again, I feel that we want to expand. We want all these frequencies in our fields, in our bodies. But I think when people talk about low vibrations, what they really mean is muddy or unclear vibrations. So I would say that rather than thinking about it in terms of high vibrations, we think about it in terms of clear vibrations. We want clarity with our vibration. And the way that we do that is that we introduce intention. So muddy or unclear vibrations are a result of being unconscious, of not being aware, of not having awareness about our vibrations, about our frequencies. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to practice this in terms of sound, because that's kind of my thing. That's what speaks to me. And what I love about sound is that anybody can make a sound. We don't care what the sound sounds like in terms of aesthetically. It doesn't have to be pretty. You don't need any special equipment. It's helpful to have some guidance, but there's all different ways to think about frequencies. And I was listening to someone talk earlier, and they were talking about taking care of themselves during trauma. And there's so many ways to do that. And the way that she presented was great. It was talking about kind of letting some emotions go. But I was sitting there thinking, man, this is really complicated. I'd rather just use a sound to release my trauma. And that's really what I've been called into with this new method of healing, is using sound to heal just about anything. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So in order to clarify our vibrations, we need to introduce intention and awareness. We need to be aware of how we're vibrating. We need to be aware of where we might have disharmony in the body, so that we can use that vibration. We can use a sound frequency to reintroduce harmony. And to harness frequency for healing, we need both expansion and clarity. That's interesting. I thought I got ahead of myself. And then as I looked down, I was like, oh no, I actually am right in the flow of things, just doubting myself as usual. So there's lots of ways to access frequency. As I just said, this is the part where I got ahead of myself a little bit. But tonight we're going to use sound. And I love the simplicity of sound. And I love the ease of sound. And I love the fact that when I use sound for healing, I don't necessarily need to think about anything. I don't necessarily need to think about why I have this vibration in my body that I want to get rid of, or that feels that it's in disharmony that I want to bring into harmony. I'm not necessarily getting rid of it, I'm transforming it. I just use the sound and it happens. It's completely intuitive, and that's what we're going to practice tonight. So I want to say a brief word about the primordial chakra tones, which I've talked about, which I taught in my chakra course, which I do want to mention briefly. I think I will be running again, probably starting in July. So if you're interested in that, drop me a message on Facebook or Instagram. You can message me through my website and let me know, because I will be trying to figure out what days of the week to do it. It's an 8-week course and I haven't really picked a date and time yet. So I'm open to suggestions from people who are interested in attending the course. So the primordial chakra tones are a great place to start this work with sound, because you might be thinking right now, like, what is she talking about? Like, this stuff sounds weird. And when we get into the actual sound of it, it sounds even weirder. But it's intuitive, and sometimes it's hard to access that intuition right off the bat. So my suggestion is to start with those primordial chakra tones. And what I found with those primordial chakra tones in my own practice is that they really brought me a lot of clarity. They brought me a lot of clarity in my sound, in my intention about sound. They really brought sound into my awareness as a healing tool, much more than it had been. But where I struggled a little bit with those primordial chakra tones was in the expansion, because I'm a rule follower. So if you tell me, do these tones, do 8 tones on each chakra, do this once a day, like, I'm going to follow those rules. And sometimes to a fault. Like, I'm not necessarily going to listen to my intuition because I'm following the rules. I want to get things right. And so what I found as I started to allow myself, while teaching those tones to the women in my chakras course, I found myself redefining the practice a little bit, not doing quite as many tones as at once, not having to do a full practice all at once, just kind of toning on the tones that were calling to me in a given time. And then that evolved even further to having this awareness in my body, to having this clarity. Oh, there's something in this area of my body that feels funny. I'm going to make a sound to make that feel better, with no rules at all. And some of these sounds are really weird. They're really strange, but they work. And that's the most amazing thing to me. And so I wanted to give a couple of examples of this. But first, I want to say that what I call this, I think I've mentioned this before, is intuitive toning, intuitive vocal toning. So we're holding the intention for healing. We're connecting intuitively with the focus of that healing. And then we're going to have the courage and the open-mindedness to make our sound, and make our sound out loud. That's really important. You can do this silently, and I do, but it's not as powerful without the actual vibration in the field, in your space, in your physical space. So I was thinking about some examples of this, and I think I'm going to give a couple, because again, this is a little bit esoteric. It's a little bit abstract, and it's a little bit weird. And it might be a little bit intimidating, especially if you're someone that doesn't necessarily connect with sound. So I will say, again, this is not about aesthetics. You are not on American Idol right now or The Voice. Nobody is in your space with you. And if they are, then hopefully they'll have the understanding, like my husband has to sometimes, that these sounds are made for healing. And I had to explain that to him, because I was toning one day And he was like, "Can you just stop that?" And I was like, "But it's helping me." And I understood he just thought, "Wow, she's making a really annoying sound," which I do. I tend to go around the house kind of making noise a lot. But in this case, I was actually intuitively toning. I had identified disharmony somewhere in my system, and I was making a purposeful sound to bring that back into harmony. So, one of the biggest ways I've been practicing this for a while, and I have had digestive issues for years. That is actually also connected to endometriosis. I tend to get stagnation in my digestive system, and I tend to get kind of stagnation in my belly. I tend to hold weight in my belly. I tend to have not a lot of energetic movement in my belly sometimes. And I thought I had tried everything. I've tried different kinds of diets, gluten-free, paleo, grain-free, dairy-free. I mean, I've tried like all sorts of physical things to try to address this disharmony, this discomfort. And I've tried a bunch of energetic things and nothing ever seemed to really work. And then I thought to myself a couple weeks ago, I should try some toning for this. It's certainly not going to hurt me. So I really focused on this stagnation, on this feeling of I was feeling really bloated at the time and just uncomfortable and like I needed to go to the bathroom and I couldn't and it just was very uncomfortable. So I started making a sound and it was a very strange sound. It was something like and you unfortunately normally you can see more of my body, but if you can see my hand, I'm kind of doing this. And if you're listening to the podcast later, I'm making kind of a back and forth motion with my hand and then pushing down. And that's the way that I feel that I'm moving the energy with the sound. So I can feel this energetic stagnation. I want it to move and then travel down and out my body. So intuitively, I don't think too much about it. I just say, I'm going to make a sound that's going to do that energetically for me. Wow, 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 wow. So there you can hear the movement in that sound and then, oh, that kind of release at the end. And so I started doing that whenever I kind of felt uncomfortable. And I noticed almost right away that I was starting to get more regular, that I was going to the bathroom more, and that I was feeling less bloated. And so then I thought, oh my gosh, for years, I have been struggling with this for years, but I had the power in me all along just by getting clarity about the frequency and expanding my mind to allow for the idea that I could just use sound to move energy rather than anything more complicated. Just the simplicity of making a sound. And again, it's a weird sound. You've heard it, but it works. And I wouldn't give up my weird sound for all the world because of the relief that I've gotten from this. This morning, I could feel I was on the edge of getting a migraine. And there was this huge influx of energy from the full moon and from this healing method that's come to me and all these new frequencies that I'm integrating into my system. And so I did some practicing. I made myself a crystal grid. I did some movement. And then I was using sound because I could feel that the energy around my head was really tight and it needed more space. I needed some expansion to hold these new frequencies so that I wouldn't get overwhelmed into having a migraine. So I was lying on the ground and I was similar to what I just did with my belly. I was pulling energy out of my head. And as I did that, I found that the energy got less tight around my head. And then pretty soon it just felt very expanded and that edge of a headache receded. So those are two real world, really powerful examples of how this practice can work for you. And the great thing about it is that it is your practice. Everybody's frequencies are their own. And yes, we have frequencies in common. That's why we resonate with certain people and not with others. Our vibrational waves are in alignment, so we resonate. But you can find your frequency and then expand that frequency and get very clear about that frequency and use it for healing. So that's what we're going to do tonight in the meditation. And I want you to be playful with this. Again, I acknowledge that this is weird. I've already made some really weird sounds and I love it. I think it's great. I think it's fun. I think it's playful. At the very worst, you might laugh at yourself or you're laughing at me. And at the best, you might find that the years of stagnation in your belly, for example, are finally starting to move. That energy is finally starting to move after a lifetime of struggle. So we're going to go into meditation. Don't take this too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take me too seriously. But have an open mind about this. When I ask you to intuitively connect with whatever area of your, and let me make this clear, this can be a physical practice. This can be a physical, like the two examples I gave were physical, but this could be an emotional practice. If you are having a lot of anxiety right now, if you're feeling depressed, if you're in grief, then use that to connect to intuitively. We want to find a focus for our healing, for our sound, but that can be a physical focus. It can be pain or discomfort in the body. It can be emotional discomfort. It can be pain in any part of your emotional body. It can be mental discomfort. It could be that brain that just won't shut off, that's running, running, running. You can focus on that and make a sound and soothe that into some sort of relaxation. So let your intuition guide you here. Let yourself have fun with this, but recognize that this is an extremely powerful practice. Take breaks if you need to, as usual. If emotions come up, let them come up, just breathe through them. But one of the things I love so much about this sound healing practice, this intuitive toning, is that most of the time it feels really joyful to me. Even when I'm dealing with something difficult, I don't necessarily get dragged into the emotion. I just look at it, find my sound, find my clarity, and then have that courage to make my sound. So let's go ahead and meditate together. So find yourself a really comfortable position. If you're more comfortable lying down for this one, go for it. If you'd like to sit up, just make sure some part of your body is contacting the ground, whether it's your feet or your bottom or your entire back. Take a couple of nice, long, deep breaths in through the nose. Let your belly grow nice and big as you breathe in, and then sigh them out with that audible ha sound. And that right there is a sound healing practice. Do that a few more times. Let any self-doubt go for this meditation, just for this few moments in time. Don't think about how your voice sounds. Don't think about your relationship with sound. Don't think about feeling pressured about sound or producing. This practice is for you. You could make a tiny little sound. It could be a whisper. But let yourself make sound during this meditation. Allow the top of your head to gently open, that beautiful crown, inviting in all the frequencies of the universe, inviting in that ultimate golden light frequency of divine energy, of true healing and bliss and harmony. Letting that flow in through your head and your face, into your neck and your throat and your jaw, allowing this beautiful harmony to flow into your shoulders and your upper arms, letting it come into your elbows and forearms, your wrists and hands. Allow this beautiful light, this harmony, this frequency of love to flow into your chest and upper back. Let it come into your belly, your mid and low back, low belly and pelvis. Let this harmony flow into your thighs, down to your knees, all the way to your shins and your calves and your ankles and your feet. And from this space, allow yourself to expand. Allow more frequencies to enter you here. All these loving vibrations, all these frequencies that are here to serve you, that are here to help you heal on a physical level, on a mental and emotional level, that are here to allow you to expand into your full energetic and spiritual potential. Let these frequencies in. Let your space expand to encompass these frequencies here. And feel how clear these frequencies are. When you get into that state of bliss, that connection with divine energy, that is the clearest of frequencies. And you can bring that clarity into all the frequencies you encounter in your daily life, all the frequencies you hold in your physical space, in your emotional and mental space, in your spiritual space, all these frequencies expanded and clear. And allow yourself now to be intuitively drawn to your focus of healing for this meditation. Whether that's a physical pain or discomfort, a physical disharmony or dis-ease, whether that's a mental disharmony or an emotional state of dis-ease, find your healing focus for this meditation. And remember, you can come back and repeat this as many times as you like with as many different types of healing focuses as you'd like to bring into your field. This is an infinite practice. So find your focus and just let your attention rest there. Notice the discomfort. Notice the physical feeling. Even if it's an emotional or mental discomfort, there's probably a physical feeling there. Allow yourself to get clarity about this disharmony. You don't have to worry about what caused it or why it's here or whether it'll work, whether you can release it. Let all of that go now. Come completely into the present moment and focus on this area that you would like to bring expansion and clarity to bring harmony and love to. Focus on this area and let your intuition take over here. Let go with your mind. Let go with your judgments. Thoughts arise. This is silly. Why am I doing this? Just notice them and let them go. Think of this as a game that you're playing with yourself. No pressure here, no attachment to the outcome, just enjoying this as you might enjoy a game as a child, enjoy running around in the sun, playing outside. Bring that feeling of playfulness into this meditation, into your healing focus. And as you're ready, without thinking about it, make your sound. And then take a nice deep oxytocin breath, sigh it out, and notice with clarity your area of focus. Has anything changed? If not, that's okay. Notice if any judgments have come up here about the quality of your sound, about the quality of this practice, about anything else. Let that go and continue bringing more clarity to this area. As you're ready, make your second sound. Maybe you've inspired your housemate to join you in making their own sound. As you release your sound, again, take a nice deep breath. And notice now there's been a shift, even slightly, perhaps a large shift. Perhaps you already feel resolved in this area. Perhaps you've brought harmony and you're ready to move to another area of focus. Again, let your intuition guide you here. Bringing clarity to this area of focus. You can place your hand on your body if it's a physical area. And as you're ready, let yourself make another sound. And then breathe. And notice you might find yourself moving intuitively here. You might find yourself making weird little faces, and release the judgments that might come up about that. And as you're ready, bring more clarity to this focus with another sound. And then breathe. And notice again how you're feeling. I feel a lot of heat coming out of my hands. That's a sign that energy is moving. I feel heat coming off my head. Take a few breaths here and check in with yourself. How is this area of your body feeling? How is this area of your emotional field feeling? How are you feeling in your mind? Has anything shifted for you? Has anything shifted in the way you think about using sound in your life, about expanding and clarifying frequency in your own energetic field? Has anything shifted in your openness to making your own personal sound, your own personal frequency? Letting go of that focus now and moving into that intuitive space. Draw your highest self to you if you'd like. And this time, when you make your sound, recognize that this is your personal frequency. This is your heart song. This is your vibration, your unique frequency that you bring to this world, that you beautify this world with. And as you're ready, make your sound. And notice the expansion in your body, in your mental and emotional state as you make your own sound, as you sing your own song, as you bring your own frequency into being, as you speak it into existence, or sing it, or grunt it, or whatever sound came out of you. Again, this does not have to be a pretty sound. Perhaps you just screamed. And if that's your song right now, that's where you are. That's your frequency of strength. And one more time, let yourself bring your personal, unique frequency into your space out loud. Notice your heart feel lighter and more open as you make this sound. Notice your feet feel firmly connected to the ground as you make this sound. The earth welcoming your frequency home. Notice that chatter in your mind relax and expand as you make your sound. Noticing the tightness and tension in your physical body releasing even just a little bit as you make your sound, as you share your frequency the way you are meant to, the way you are called to in this moment and all moments going forward. Voicing your frequency with clarity, with expansion, and inviting in new frequencies to further clarify and expand your existence, to further evolve as a spiritual being, as a physical being, as an emotional and mental being, coming fully into harmony. And once more, please share your sound, knowing that we are all holding this space together. I may not be able to hear your sound with my ears, but I feel it with my own vibration, my own frequency, knowing that we resonate together in this practice in perfect harmony as we encourage each other to shine this frequency forth, to shine our light brightly. to stand up and claim what is ours, our divine birthright to be loved, to be light, to be in harmony and joy and sorrow, to experience the full range of frequencies that this life offers us, the low, the middle, the high. All of this can be done with clarity. The grief and sadness, the anger can be expressed with clarity of frequency and brought back into harmony, even while feeling uncomfortable. We can reintroduce this harmony into the world, into our spaces, into ourselves. And this is your chance now to make any last sounds that you'd like to hear. Closing this sound healing ceremony with your own personal sound. Sealing in this shift in your body or your mind or your emotions or all three. Sealing in this invitation to expand and invite new frequencies into your being with the intention to vibrate with clarity in all areas of your life, in all aspects of your being. Satnam, truth and identity. Nam. If you'd like, you can gently allow that crown chakra to close or leave it open for the most expanded of frequencies, for your highest good. Allowing that harmony again to flow into your head and your neck, into your torso and your hips, into your legs and your feet. Inviting harmony into all areas of your being. As you're ready, you can move around a little bit, back fully into your conscious mind, noticing how you feel. Perhaps you feel silly, and that's okay. Perhaps you feel that nothing's shifted, but I assure you that it has and will continue to if you continue this practice. Come back to this meditation and practice this again as you are called to. As you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. If you're interested in the endometriosis talk, it is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Arizona/Pacific time. You can find it live on the BioTouch Healing Facebook page. Be so gentle with yourself. There's so much energy out there right now. Allow that energy to call you into harmony. Allow these frequencies to bring you into love, which is the ultimate frequency. Have a beautiful rest of your evening, a beautiful rest of your week, and I will see you next week for Wind Down Wednesday.